It's Wednesday. It's raining. It's Chip. Meow. Little odds and ends of doll stuff since last week. Didn't get much done over the weekend because the kiddo got really sick Friday night, so I was kind of tending him on Saturday. And on Sunday, I had people over for doll day. And so didn't get anything done, but got a lot of doll talk and swapping bodies and body parts and advice and ideas. And I did play around with some of the stuff that I got in that box in the last video that I posted. From Michaela for thanks again. One of the things that I realized was that those Swap and Styles heads, I got 2 Swap and Style bodies and 4 Swap and Styles heads. So 2 of them went on the bodies, and then the other 2 were on the bust display pieces. But I realized the action figure body, this action figure body, that I had taken the vinyl cover off of, and I thought it looked very kind of robotic, but it just had this little floppy head that, or neck piece that really wasn't the whole neck, it was just the inside of a neck, and it really needed the whole rubber body to go over it to make the head fit properly. I didn't like it, but I couldn't figure out what I would do to get a head onto this body that was fashion doll compatible and not rigging up weirdness on that just knob. But then I realized if you cut the connector piece out of a Swap and Styles head, and I've done this so much that I obviously haven't anchored it yet, but put the Swap and Styles shoulders on here, and I think that is a good way forward with this project. Now I'm going to still at some point go down and spend time with the Dremel and grind out like this part of the shoulder, because the way the arm articulation is in this body, the shoulders are on a hinge, but it's a really tight hinge. And I feel like trying to get the hinge to move, that it's going to just break this little stem that goes into this ball pivot here. So what I would rather do, instead of cementing this on and forcing me to try to move this really, really stiff hinge and probably end up breaking the pin, I'm going to just cut that out so she should still have most of this range of motion. I also haven't decided what color I want to make this robot yet. I have this old 1980s Kira or Miko head on this just because it kind of is a decent color match to this orangey Swap and Styles shoulder upper chest piece. I'm not sure what you call this. But then I realized, and I thought I would leave this just natural color and then paint the rest of this either. I have spray paints in, of course, glossy white and matte black, and also spray paint silver, which isn't really silver, but it's kind of silverish. But then I realized that the upper and lower arms are both vinyl, which is not good to spray paint because the plasticizers interact and the spray paint never quite dries. So then I realized, well, then I could just airbrush some color, and then all my color options open up to infinity, and I can also airbrush the head and the upper torso, the airbrush, because again, no vinyl problems. So I'm really not sure what color I want to make this robot. And I do want to replace her hands with hands from a Barbie, whether I cannibalize them from some old articulated fashionistas or I take them off of some stiff arm doll and rig up some articulation, because these action figure hands are fine for action figures, but they just seem a little large for Barbie, but these will be good for some Kens who get hands. Same thing with the feet. I want to try swap out. I do have shoes that fit action figure feet, but I would still rather get some Barbie-sized feet on here. So that's still a nice step ahead of this project. It solved a problem that I wasn't solving with stuff that I already had around, and it hadn't occurred to me that I could use this, but it's good. So there's a slight step ahead on that one. And then one of the bodies that was in that package was a tan Kirby body. And I had a thought of just which other heads could I put on it. And I have that Mycene Madison, who has a new face up from Cheshire Tiffy, and she's been wearing a pink Kemper wig for a while. I tried putting that head on the curvy body, and I think it works out pretty good. So here she is. See the face up by Tiffy. And Emmy Moon sent me this shirt a while ago, and this skirt was in the package from FemBGD a few weeks ago, so this is a very much communal doll project here, group project. So I think this Mycene head looks really good on this curvy body, and I'm not sure if a Mycene head with the stock paint would look as good, or if it needs to be this kind of very different face-up look. But if you want to try your Mycene heads on curvy bodies, I would be interested in seeing that. Another head, well, it was the whole doll was in that box, was the Fashionistas Cactus Cutie, which I know a lot of people are buying that doll just for the dress. It was to the point where I was paying so much attention to the little cactus print dress that I never even registered what the doll looked like. So when I got her in this box as a fashionista in the tall body, so I knew she was new, but she's absolutely unfamiliar. And I finally looked her up and, oh, that's Cactus Cutie. So I put that head on an older articulated fashionista's body in tan. And then I went ahead and that doll pattern that I worked up, 2 months ago, that I said I'll share with you soon, I finally sewed it up just to make sure that it worked. There are a few things I need to change on the pattern itself before I share it, not the least of which is actually writing out the instructions. But it works, I think it works pretty well. And this is the same shirt that I was experimenting with on this. So I have not physically tried this shirt on a curvy, but the parts are all the same, so it should work. And what else was I was going to say something? Oh, you can see that I kind of like to style it with a long retro sweet vintage style skirt, but I'm sure that once I get this pattern worked out and shared, that you will all come up with much more creative outfits than I do with it. So I'm not making any promises on doing this soon because I need to alter this piece a little bit. I forgot that I need to mark it as being cut on the bias, so I just have a straight grain line on it, and also made it a little bit too long. So simple alterations and writing out the instructions, which, like I said, I never know if my instructions are too detailed to the point where they're confusing or if they're not detailed enough. So once I get this out, feedback will be pretty appreciated. But yes, Cactus Cutie is pretty cute. I just think it's funny that we all paid so much attention to her dress that I didn't pay attention to her face. Although this one does have a little, I'm not sure if you can see it because the side light from the window probably is more flattering. She has a bit of, you know, what we call wonk eye. So I will be touching up. I like her stock paint, but it needs some work because one eye is kind of off in its own world. So there's that. And was on Saturday, since the kiddo was sleeping and I was trying to stay quiet, but I didn't want to get too involved in a big elaborate project, so I needed to be around if he needed me. I actually had this inclination about 15 years ago. When I first got some epoxy putty, I thought I would sculpt a doll. And I actually made decent progress on sculpting the body. Then probably about 10 years ago, I said, no, I'm never going to do anything with this, and I threw it away, which about, 5 years after that, I started to really wish that I'd kept hold of it, because now I know better what to do with the body sculpting and hacking it apart to add joints, and I really don't look forward to the process involved sanding all that epoxy again. But, so the body's gone, but I did keep the head, which I come back to every few years and do a little more work on it. So what I did this weekend was I really started to work on the mouth, which is still not great, and I still need to work on the space, not just the philtrum, but the whole space between the nose and the mouth. And I need to work on getting the eyes more even, and I need to make the nose more refined because I think the nose is pretty much, with me and sculpting with epoxy putty, I kind of glob everything together. And there's usually one bit that just looks perfect the way it is. The rest of it is a blobby mess, but that perfect part I don't ever want to touch because I know I could never get that swoop and the curve just right. I think this nose was like that I haven't really done much work on the nose, but I need to do more work on the nose. I'm not sure how well this will show up since it's all primer gray. But this is where she is now, in terms of the sides, so maybe you can see a silhouette. See what I see under the nose. It's not curvy enough. So I don't know if I'm ever going to get this finished and how it's going to look when I do, but like I said, I take it out every few years and sand a little more off of it. This time I wasn't just sanding though, I actually got out these sculpting tools and really started working on it. And this mouth isn't great, but it's a lot better than it was. If I ever get finished, then I will post the before and after pictures because I still have the pictures from when I started her on 2002, maybe 2003. But that's another way I spent my dolly time. And the final thing, I did finish that reroot. I didn't finish over the weekend. But yesterday I sat down and spent, like I said, about an hour is what I thought it would have left. And then I spent probably another hour winding the hair around pipe cleaners. And then I carefully dunked that into the boiling water, careful not to get the face up from Josh, so I didn't ruin all that. Because I have ruined face up with boiling water before. Again, about 14 or 15 years ago, so I learned my lesson. I'm very careful with face ups when I dunk heads in water. You know, just get the hair wet in the boiling water, not the face, and you'll probably be okay, although I still expect someday steam will destroy something. So I let that dry overnight, and this morning I unwound it from the pipe cleaners and I picked and brushed it out, and here she is. This is nylon hair, so it kind of does its own thing. It doesn't really lay down. I know I will be able to shape it a bit more to get it to lay, but I thought I would go ahead and put it up. A little puff like that. And this is the face up from Josh, and the hair from me, and I think she's done! So now I need to take pictures of her, of course, and then she's probably just going to sit on my shelf for a while. I might, because I sent this head to Josh with yarn hair glued on it, and the yarn hair had kind of some of it swept forward into almost like just little hints of bangs. So when I peeled the yarn hair off, the Super Clear, Mr. Super Clear on the face actually, you know, had been masked off by that yarn hair, so it's not even right around the hairline. But I think I have a dark plum paint, so I might paint some baby hairs around her hairline just to hide that transition from Mr. Super Clear to bare vinyl. But it's not as annoying as I thought it would be when I was rerooting her. Oh, cough, sorry. So so part of me wants to paint baby hairs, but part of me is terrified that I will just ruin it if I do that. So here she is. And then I will try to get this prepared to share with people. And I had a lovely visit on Sunday with talking about dolls and a lot about bugs and hunting bugs and preserving bugs too, because that's the kind of people I hang around with. And there's a trash truck out there, it's probably noisy and it's raining, and it's actually a nice day. Have a good day.